Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss how the external visual world is processed by the various neuronal component of the eye, the tract leading into the brain, components of the brain, and the primary visual cortex and the other visual cortexes. So, what we see, as we remember from the previous class, this is a representation of the retina, and here we have the cones corresponding to L, M and S, and here we have the rods. So, how is the information from the cones taken away? These L and M cones are all concentrated in the fovea. So they get the best focus of the eye, so they will cater to very accurate vision, and they will also cater to color vision. And obviously they are only sensitive at bright light. The rods usually scattered all over the retina except for the fovea, and they are very sensitive even to very dim light. And the S cone, the cone which is catering to the blue light spectrum, is not in the fovea, it is just outside the fovea. So these also caters to color. Regarding the bipolar cell carrying them away, this bipolar cell which caters to the rods. So many rods will converge on one bipolar cell. This bipolar cell is a parasol or a diffuse bipolar cell, which signals to a magnocellular ganglion cell. So, magnocellular ganglion cell. So, collecting light from many rods, this will be contributing to the formation of the magnocellular pathway. So, this pathway is sensitive to light. This is sensitive to motion, and the pathway is very fast. This bipolar cell is a midget bipolar cell, midget bipolar cell, a very small bipolar cell compared to this, and it has one-to-one relationship with the cone. One cone will contribute to the depolarization of this midget cell or hyperpolarization of the midget cell, depending on whether it is in the on pathway or off pathway. So suppose this is the on bipolar cell, so it will depolarize, and thereby it will signal the dedicated ganglion cell to pass its information to the lateral geniculate body. This dedicated pathway is the parvocellular pathway. Parvocellular pathway, therefore, contributes to the sensation of color and to the acuity of vision. So it provides form and color sensation. Then we have the coniocellular pathway. The coniocellular pathway, which is a contribution from the S cone. So they will all form here initially, they will form the optic nerve, and then some of the optic nerve will decussate to the other side, and some of it will remain on the same side as discussed in previous class. So there is this optic chiasma which helps in decussation of optic nerve, and after decussation, the coming together of ipsilateral fibers from the from the temporal aspect of the eye and the contralateral fiber from the nasal aspect of the eye, they will together form the optic. Suppose here somewhere they will form the optic thread. So beyond is the optic thread. Here to here, optic nerve, and from here to the lateral geniculate body. After there is convergence of ipsilateral temporal fiber and contralateral nasal fiber, you will have the optic tract. So how is the distribution in the lateral geniculate body? The lateral geniculate body is a part of the thalamus. It is the dorsolateral geniculate nuclei of thalamus. We call it the lateral geniculate body or the lateral geniculate nuclei. So the lateral geniculate nuclei is seen to be divided into 6 parts. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The fibers which are coming from the temporal aspect of this eye. So the fibers which are coming from the temporal aspect of the eye, the ipsilateral fiber, here we have signified it as I, ipsilateral fiber, will be entering or will be signaling to the second layer, layer 2, layer 3 and layer 5. So ipsilateral will be signaling to second layer, third layer and fifth layer. This ipsilateral fiber has all the 3 components. Please remember, these ipsilateral fibers have all the 3 components, but they are signaling to specific layers or stratas of the lateral geniculate body. The same is the case with the contralateral fibers, fibers which are coming from the nasal aspect of the other eye. They are signaling to a different strata. So obviously the strata is 1, 4 and 6. So you see, visual signal, although coming from the same hemispheric visual world, that is to say, the visual signal here coming to one lateral geniculate body is coming from the one hemisphere or one half, either the right half or the left half of the visual world, but even till up to lateral geniculate body, they do not mix. There is no mixing of ipsilateral, see, goes to different layers, and the contralateral, which goes to different layers. So there is no mixing of signal from to the eye till up to the lateral geniculate body. Right? Moreover, the lateral geniculate body has retinotopic maps. So each layer has a map of the visual world. It is like having the sensory homunculus or the motor homunculus, kind of like the representation of the external world, the visual representation of the external world are located in a very coordinated fashion. So there is a labeled line coming from specific rods or cones to specific area of the lateral geniculate body. This is called a retinotopic representation, or lateral geniculate body has a retinotopic map. So throughout this pathway, till up to lateral geniculate body, and even in the fiber leading from the lateral geniculate body to the primary visual cortex at the occipital lobe, there is constant conservation of the retinotopic distribution of vision. Fine. So, ipsilateral comes to second, third and fifth layer, contralateral goes to first, fourth and sixth layer. One. Moreover, the magnocellular pathway will be in first. So magnocellular pathway from the ipsilateral will be in the second layer. So ipsilateral pathway, magnocellular second layer, magnocellular layer from the contralateral will be at the first layer. So magnocellular pathway will be contributing to the first and second layer.